Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans, to another exciting episode of The Spread. I'm your host, Jim Sella, in studio today with co-host Jay Dash and Big Easy. Going to do an AFC South draft recap for you, go over each team's picks round 1 through 7. We're going to get it started here with the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts made the playoffs last year and made it all the way to the AFC Championship game against the Patriots and then got dominated because Brady cheated and deflated his balls.
Please believe Andrew Luck, son.
The first pick for the Colts was Philip Dorsett. He's a wide receiver out of Miami. He was taken 29th overall. Not a real big guy. He's 5'10", 185 pounds. He runs a real fast 4.29 40-yard dash. Only 13 bench reps, but an impressive 37-inch vertical. He's a guy with blazing speed over the top, one of the more explosive players in college last year. He can play outside. He can play in the slot. Half his catches went for 25-plus yards, so that's big. He did have a partial MCL tear, though, in 2013. He falls into bad habits of relying on speed instead of technique a lot of times, and he does have a little bit of trouble, although he is able to play in the slot, going against the bigger linebackers and stuff. If he gets jammed, his small size doesn't help out.
This was a little bit of a surprising pick in the first round, but if the Colts can keep Andrew Luck upright, I mean, this offense can be pretty dynamic, and they're definitely going to get better as Luck grows. But now you got Andre Johnson, T.Y. Hilton, and him. I mean, that's a good 1-2-3 combo.
With Frank Gore in the backfield.
But from what I heard, they want to run Andre Johnson in the slot and put this guy on the outside. Yeah. I have no clue.
Who else? They have that Dante Moncrief, too, who came on hard last year near the end. They have so many weapons. And, I mean, easy. To me, it just shows that the Colts are willing to do what the Steelers were hesitant to do with Roethlisberger for a point and put weapons around him and allow Andrew Luck to be the one who takes his team to the promised land. They're giving him all the weapons that he can possibly have. He can run a 5 wide receiver set, and probably every wide receiver on the team would at least get playing time at 3 or 4 on every other team in the league.
They're giving him the weapons, but are they putting the line together to keep him healthy? That's the real question.
Easy, you may be getting a call because you were a damn good center for me on Thanksgiving Day turkey bowls. Another thing real quick about Dorsett is he doesn't run the greatest routes. He's a little bit more of a freelancer, and I don't know, Andrew Luck's more of a technical guy, so he might like guys that are more technical in their approach.
Well, maybe that's why they want to run him on the outside at first, so he can at least have the deep ball.
Right. The next pick for the Colts was in the 3rd round. They traded down out of the 2nd round. It was cornerback DeJon Smith out of Florida Atlantic. Another smaller guy, 5'10", 187 pounds. Good weight for a guy who's 5'10". A 4.45 40-yard dash with 18 bench reps and a 36-inch vertical. This guy has good footwork. He gets to his top speed rather quickly. He tracks the ball real well in the air, and he has great hand-eye coordination. He's a guy who will definitely compete for the ball, and he's actually an able tackler compared to a lot of the other guys who went early in the draft at the corner position. He does get to his top speed quickly, like I said, but he does not have good recovery speed. So although he can get there, it's not that great when he gets there. He's not real great in press coverage. He gets pushed around a little bit with his small size. And he didn't go up against a lot of really good competition at Florida Atlantic, so his talent could still be rather raw. But the Colts seen something in this guy that they liked.
Not great tackling skills from him.
He's got a rookie nickname already. They're starting to call him Mustard.
Yeah, can't catch up to his mustard.
Grey Poupon.
I typed his name in on YouTube, and the first video I clicked, all I seen was him getting burnt.
First video I came across was a limousine came up and held out some Grey Poupon.
The Colts need some help with the secondary, so they're hoping this guy can fill it, but I don't expect him to step in and start right away or anything.
We needs to get better at tackling, from what I understand, and if you can't tackle a corner, you're not going to make it.
Believe that. Another guy in the 3rd round they got, Henry Anderson, defensive end, 93rd overall out of Stanford. He's 6'6", 294 pounds, a 5'0", 340-yard dash with a 30-inch vertical. Only 23 bench reps from a guy who's a defensive end. That's definitely rather low for a guy at that position. He keeps his pad low and does have good forward lean coming off the ball. He gets good arm extension. He plays with a lot of passion. He does have a good football IQ and a good team-first attitude, but he doesn't have great footwork when he's engaged with the offensive lineman. He needs to improve his power to play inside. He can play on the outside right now, but at 294, that's a little too big for a 4-3 end and not quite big enough for a 3-4 end. He's easily blocked by tight ends, as can show by his 23 measly bench reps. So this is a guy who definitely needs to improve his strength. With his good football IQ and team attitude, he might be able to throw him on a practice squad, but a guy in the third round, you don't really want to do that. You hope he can at least compete for a roster spot right now.
Well, I seen Mike Mayock said this guy is going to be an NFL starter long term.
Maybe long term, but not right now. Not if you're getting blocked by tight ends.
He played in the 2015 Senior Bowl. He was selected first team All Pac-12 in 2014. In 2013, he was selected honorable mention All Pac-12. So he's been getting it done in college for a while.
College is a different game than the pros for football.
Man. Great point, Jim.
Believe that. That's why I'm here. The Colts' fourth-round pick was Clayton Gaithers. Strong safety out of Central Florida, 109th overall. He's 6'2", 218 pounds, runs a 4.55 40-yard dash, 22 bench reps, 37-inch vertical. Just like I pointed out with that D lineman dash, 23 bench reps for a guy who plays on the line, and then this safety comes in and does 22. That's a big reason why Anderson needs to bulk up. But Gaithers was a 4-year starter. He's big enough and quick enough to cover tight ends. He plays faster than his 40 time actually suggests. He had 298 tackles over a 3-year period in college. He does miss some tackles when he likes to go for the big hit. He's one of those guys. He lacks a little bit of patience and takes himself out of the play sometimes, taking bad angles to the ball carrier. He does get fooled a little easily by play action passes. They get him to come up to the line, doesn't have great recovery speed, so when he gets into that type of situation, he's not the best. But he's a good box safety. He can play near the line of scrimmage in short areas. A big hitter. Sometimes that cost him. A good tackler. A little bit of lack of focus, but I think he'll get that together. And at 6'2", 218, that's great size for an NFL safety. And if he can get his head in the game, he could be a good player.
Coming into the draft, NFL.com actually had him rated as a round 7 selection.
Guess the Colts like him a little better than that, huh?
Well, they're saying he makes a lot of mistakes, so it's going to take a year or two to get used to the NFL. So he's going to be sitting on the bench for a couple years, but he can turn into a pretty decent football player, they're thinking.
Throw him out there on special teams, let him get used to the speed of the game, teach him some things about special teams, see if he can catch on to that, then it's worth throwing him back there, not right away at safety, but putting him back in practice and letting him learn. I'd take a chance on a guy with that kind of size and good enough speed. Look at your Cam Chancellors and the other great safeties in the league recently. Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu didn't have great size, but he played like he did. You need guys that are a little bit bigger. When you're going up against like a Rob Gronkowski or a Jimmy Graham, you can't have a 5'8" safety out there trying to cover these beasts.
Mm-hmm.
The next pick for the Colts was David Perry. He's a nose tackle. They took him in the 5th round, 151st overall out of Stanford. He's 6'1", 308 pounds, a 5'3", 840 with 34 bench reps, something you really want to see out of your nose tackle. The 40 time is pretty much, who cares, because he's not going to be running very far. If this dude has to run 40 yards in any given play, you're in a lot of trouble. He has powerful frame. He was a former walk-on, so he plays with a chip on his shoulder. He kind of has that mean streak. He uses his hands real well to disengage from the offensive line and make the tackle, and he does a decent job of rushing the passer from the interior. He's more of a 3-4 nose tackle, if you ask me. He'll need to put on a little bit more weight, actually, even at 308, to handle the 3-4 nose tackle position. You want him to play around like 320. He has short arms, so that hurts him a little bit against the bigger offensive linemen with the real long arms, guys that are 6'7", 6'8". He struggles to gain leverage against those tall offensive linemen, so that doesn't help him. And he gets a little frustrated when he doesn't win right away. So when the contact's first engaged, if he doesn't feel like he's on top, he seems to get frustrated and kind of give up. So that's not something you want out of a guy at your nose tackle position. He needs to come in, step up, take on 2 blocks, and free up some space.
Well, something I like about this pick is this is the teammate of their 3rd round pick, Henry Anderson, and they work side by side in college at Stanford, and maybe that will help Perry grow a little bit quicker with Anderson in there beside him.
Comfortable competition, and not for the same position, But, friends, people that they're, comfortable with. These guys are athletes. They want to win and get better. So they'll push each other and help each other to get
Plus,
better.
they already worked together for, 4 years most likely.
So they know what to expect. Colts' 6th-round pick was Josh Robinson. He's a running back out of Mississippi State. He's 5'8", 217 pounds, 4.65 40, not very fast for a running back, 21 bench reps, 32-inch vertical. He has a low center of gravity when he runs. At 5'8", that's not really too hard. He keeps his pads low, so it makes it hard for defenders to wrap him up. He has real good balance after contact, and he does have pretty good hands to catch the ball. He doesn't have great vision when he runs, though. He's more of a one-cut runner with average athleticism. He doesn't have great burst to get through the holes, so if the hole's only open for a half a second, he's not really going to make it. And he needs to get his knees a little bit higher when he's running. It's easier for defenders to grab him by the ankles and bring him down. He's a short guy. He wants to try to run through people a little bit too much. You're not going to last in today's NFL if you try to do that. But he doesn't lack the vision to get to the second level, so he's going to struggle to find a spot as a starting running back. He'll probably just be more of a rotational guy for basically his whole career. But it's never bad to have depth.
Well, look, they got Frank Gore at running back now. They just brought him in. Josh Robinson's more of a power running back, so maybe later in the game after dealing with Frank Gore all game, you can bring Robinson in, and the defense don't really want to tackle a power running back late in the game when they're hurting.
You're right. Another pick for the Colts in the 6th round, Mario Herrera. He's an inside linebacker out of Georgia. He's 6'1", 244 pounds.
It's a Mario.
He runs a 4.78 40, 23 bench reps, 32-inch vertical. This is a guy with good instincts. He was highly productive in the SEC, which is a really strong conference. He can line up the defense and make all the calls. He did it in college. He reads play action well and reacts quickly to what's in front of him. He's a guy who can cover tight ends and running backs out of the backfield. A 4.78 40 wouldn't really think that he could do that. He plays a little faster than what his 40 time actually says, but he does have short arms and he's a little stiff at times. He's not the most agile guy, so he misses a little bit of open field tackles, and he does play laterally to the line of scrimmage instead of attacking the line of scrimmage, which is what you really want out of an inside linebacker. You want him coming forward. You don't want him waiting for the running back to get to him. That's when the running backs start getting those 1, 2, 3 extra yards after contact.
Yeah, this is a guy that's probably at best going to be on the practice squad at the beginning of the season.
Right.
But the Indianapolis Colts had the worst red zone defense last season, so they had to bring in some linebackers and some D linemen, and they did that in this draft.
If they want him to play well in the red zone, he needs to learn how to attack the line of scrimmage and get a little bit stronger. 23 bench reps isn't terrible out of a linebacker, but when you're 244 pounds at only 6'1", come on, man. The last guy the Colts took was Denzel Good, the offensive tackle out of Mars Hill. He was taken in the 7th round, 255th overall. He's a guy who's 6'7", 320 pounds. There really isn't a lot of information on this guy out there. When you try to look him up, you actually find out that his name could be possibly spelled 2 ways, and nobody really even knows how the hell to spell it.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. What's up now, Mel Kiper? I thought you knew everything.
Yeah,
dude.
Mel Kiper's got nothing on this guy. Nothing. But we find a little bit. He's a stronger guy. He might move to guard instead of tackle. He's not real fast. He come from a school that has, less than 1,500 kids?
Yeah.
That's smaller than the college I went to. So there's really not going to be a whole lot out there. But he's got a good IQ. He's a good character guy. The Colts seem to like him. And with a 7th round pick, you're rarely making the team anyway. So the Colts figure they take a flyer, try to get somebody to help beef up that line in front of Andrew Luck. You get him for a good price.
The one thing I did find on him is that he lacks foot speed and the agility to survive on the edge in the NFL.
Yeah, that's why I said he probably will get moved to guard.
Right.
It'll be a little easier with his size for him inside. 6'7", 320, that's a big-ass guard. If he can run block well, he'll at least find time maybe on the practice squad, but I really don't think there's any chance in hell that he makes the 53-man roster for the Colts this year.
A couple undrafted rookie free agent signings for the Indianapolis Colts. Southeastern Louisiana quarterback Brian Bennett. Auburn wide receiver Quan Bray. Western Michigan cornerback Donald Seleskar. San Diego State linebacker Cody Galea. Cincinnati Bearcats linebacker Terrell Hartsfield. Harvard linebacker Zachary Hodges. Nebraska cornerback Joshua Mitchell.
Corn.
San Diego State wide receiver Ezel Ruffin.
Ezel.
Westchester University cornerback El-Haj Jabaz. I bet you he
made
gets
that one
checked at the airport. University of Massachusetts tight end. University of Massachusetts tight end Gene Sifrin. Purdue tight end Justin Sins. Wonder if he's from Vegas.
I wonder if he's Christian.
Yeah.
Clemson safety Robert Smith. Toledo linebacker Junior Sylvester. And they brought in his Yale running back Tyler Varga. Now Varga was actually the captain for the 2015 Reese's Senior Bowl for the North. Now, he had a good career in college. He was second among Yale's top 10 career rushers. He owned a 5.6 yard rushing average. He was third on Yale's career rushing touchdown list with 31. He was fourth in career rushing yards for him with 2,985 and fifth with 529 rushing attempts. He had 17 games he rushed over for 100 yards. Now, we know Indianapolis, they have Frank Gore and Daniel Heron.
Yeah.
So that's really all they have. They did draft this one running back earlier, Josh Robinson. And we said he's not really a guy that's going to be making a major impact in the NFL. Right. So this guy could give him a run for his competition.
I love undrafted running backs, man. It's a position where usually if the back's really good, you're spending a lot of money. So if you can get lucky on an undrafted guy and get high production out of him, even if it's for 3 years, you scored big because that's
3 years.
Awesome.
Definitely take that out of an undrafted rookie free agent. This guy actually scored 2 TDs in the Senior Bowl.
He's beast.
He is
and he's smart because he went to Yale.
224 pounds, 5'11".
Him and Andrew Luck will have intelligent conversations since he went to Stanford.
He's from Canada.
Those Canadians really know how to eat donuts, eh? Well, let's move it on to the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars had a terrible season last year. They had some really bad luck this year. Their first-round pick, Dante Fowler Jr., the linebacker out of Florida. He's 6'3", 261, 4'6", 40, 19 bench reps. None of this matters, folks, because the dude already blew his ACL out.
Well, it matters. He's still going to be a good football player, I believe.
Just don't matter this season. ACL injuries, you're able to come back from it. Adrian Peterson's shown that if you work hard, you can still get back to that same level. I feel bad for Fowler. He was a guy who really wanted to come in. He's from Florida. He went to Florida College. He got drafted by a team from Florida. He was really happy to try to make an impact for his, team in his hometown state. He's a very athletic guy, smooth hips, changes directions real good. He can run sideline to sideline and attack the ball carrier. He was a little raw in his pass rush skills, so that was kind of a concern. And he struggled a little bit against power backs. 19 bench reps isn't great for a linebacker, but strength is something that you can fix. All you got to do is hit the weight room, and this was a guy who has a build to put more size on. It's just real sad to see him get hurt so soon.
It's sad for him, and it's sad for the Jaguars, man. They're never going to get good.
Yeah. The Jags did him right, and he wasn't signed when he hurt himself, and they still gave him the exact same contract they were going to give him before. They didn't have to. They could have said, you blew your knee out.
Yeah, that was commendable.
Yeah. Did you ever see a picture of their owner? He's like a weird oil tycoon from the Middle East. He's crazy looking. Their second-round pick was T.J. Yeldon, the running back out of Alabama. He was taken 36th overall. He's 6'1", 226 pounds. He ran a 4.5, 240 with 22 bench reps. He has good size with a little bit more room to bulk up. Smooth hips, quick feet for a runner. He's a good zone runner. He gets upfield, makes reads quickly. He sees the hole and has good burst to get through it. He's one of those guys who can get skinny, if you know what I mean, to slip through tight holes, kind of turn it to the side a little bit.
Fasting is that what it's called?
He does run a little bit too upright, though, so it makes it a little easier for defenders to tackle him. He has limited power for his size. He's not a guy who's going to run through a lot of tackles, and he's not a great blocker. And the biggest question mark for me, he fumbled 10 times in 576 career carries. Now, that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but that would end up being basically 10 times in 2 seasons. That's a lot for a running back.
The problem I'm looking at is they're saying he's more of a creative type running back.
Yes.
And he really doesn't have that explosive speed to run away from anyone, although he has played through injuries.
Yeah.
So he may not have been 100%.
he gets happy feet sometimes in the backfield and likes to dance around a little bit and not just get up and get through the hole.
Here I see his NFL comparison is Terrence West. Now, everybody knows he played for the Cleveland Browns. He had a couple good games here and there, but out of a second-round pick, you better be a lot better than a Terrence West.
Believe it.
It can't be no worse than Toby Gerhart, though. Toby Gerhart's a bum.
Bust. The next guy the Colts took was A.J. Cann, the offensive guard out of South Carolina in the 3rd round, 67th overall. He's 6'3", 313 pounds, good size for a guard, 5'4", 740, 30 bench reps, 32.5-inch vertical. He's not really going to be jumping over too many people. 30 bench reps is real good. The 5'4", 740 is a little concerning. Obviously, he's probably not going to be the guard who pulls to lead block on sweeps. He does keep his pads low coming off the ball. He has strong feet and maintains a wide base. He's a disciplined player who leads by example, and he's rarely penalized. He doesn't get to the second level very well. He leans too much. He needs to use his arms a little bit more in his strength, but he does get out of his stand a little slow and does struggle against spin moves. So he's not a guy who's going to be real good against the faster outside DNs. That's why they're going to keep him inside at guard. Consistent 4-year starter with good discipline and strength, but his technique needs work and he needs to get a little quicker.
Well, listen, they're going to start him out at guard, but they ultimately think he can move into the center role, and they actually think he can start at guard this year. They think he's going to be an immediate starter, but eventually they're going to kick the can to center.
Do you think he can?
I think he can.
I don't know.
Tears in a bucket.
That's a slow guy at center. I like my centers to be a little more athletic.
Oh, yes, he can.
Their 4th round pick was Jesse Sample. He's a strong safety out of Louisville. He's 6'2", 209 pounds, ran a 4.5, 640 with 17 bench reps. He's got good speed sideline to sideline. He's a good box safety who tackles well in space. 74 solo tackles, 4 picks in 2014. He only started 1 season in college, so that's a little bit of a worry. He has below average awareness, but again, that comes from lack of playing time. And he doesn't read a quarterback's eyes very well. He relies on watching receivers' routes, so he gets faked out a lot, and that doesn't help him out.
This is a guy with a high ceiling, but he was only a 1-year starter in college.
Another guy with good size, though, 6'2", 209. If you
Louisville.
can round him into shape, I mean, you're only risking a 4th-round pick on him. It's not like too many 4th-round picks become Pro Bowlers, so you go out on a limb. He's got good athleticism.
His NFL comparison is Bernard Pollard, according to NFL.com, so that isn't bad out of this late of a pick.
Yeah, he's carved out a good career for himself.
Louisville.
The 5th-round pick, Rashad Green, a wide receiver out of Florida State. He's 5'11", 182 pounds. He runs a 4.5, 340 with a 36.5-inch vertical. He can play slot or outside, has good concentration, and creates leverage in his routes. He gets on top of coverage quickly. He has good acceleration and comes out of his breaks quick. He needs to improve his play strength. He's not a very good blocker, and he gives away his routes a lot, leaning into his breaks. And he had 7 drops his junior year, so that needs to improve dramatically. You don't want a guy who's going to drop the ball all the time.
Yeah, I don't see him starting from day one, but he can be a kick returner for him.
Yeah?
And this was Jameis Winston's guy in college. This is who he went to.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Winston's garbage.
We'll see.
I'm just messing around. I think Winston will be pretty good. The Jaguars don't really have a lot of talent at all, so he's probably going to make the team. He definitely has the ability to compete for special teams, maybe kick returner like you said. It's not like they have a whole lot of wide receivers out there.
I actually like a lot of their wide receivers. However, none of them have star potential.
Right.
They're all just solid receivers.
Yeah. 6th-round pick for the Jags was Michael Bennett, a defensive tackle out of Ohio State. He's 6'2", 293 pounds with a 4.9, 840 and a 35.5-inch vertical. He gets good burst off the snap. He gets low and has a quick punch. He has good technique and can make himself skinny to slip through the line and get to the quarterback. He's a good team leader. Doesn't play with a real high motor. Gets a little frustrated when his pass rush stalls and he loses his technique. He regressed from his junior to senior season, so you hope that was just a fluke. If he builds a little bit more strength in his lower body, that would help him out. He's a project player. Build a little more strength, get his awareness a little better, and hopefully his aggressiveness comes with competing against NFL caliber players.
This guy is very disciplined. He is very smart, and people actually believe this is one of the bigger steals of the draft. He was actually projected as high as a round 2 before the draft went down, and people believe this is a huge steal for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they need some steals in this draft after what happened with Dante Fowler.
Yeah, you gotta. You know, I'm not a Jags fan at all, but you just got to feel for them. They came into the league on fire their first year, maybe not, but then they made the playoffs. They beat the Steelers the second season, and they had a couple good years, but they've had some down seasons now for the last 5-6 years.
Yeah, ever since they changed the divisions around, really, right?
Their 7th-round pick, another wide receiver, Neil Sterling out of Monmouth, New Jersey College. This is a guy with real good size at 6'4", 235 pounds. Not real fast, 4'6", 240, 16 bench reps, 35-inch vertical out of a guy who's 6'4", though, is pretty good. He has a great size and speed combo. He goes up for the ball at its highest point. They might actually line him up at tight end a little bit, not to block, obviously, but to try to get a mismatch against a linebacker. He's a guy who runs good routes with a good catch radius, but he did play against lesser competition in college. They're not sure if he can do it against NFL defenders. His lack of defined position scared some teams away. The Jags were one of the few teams to embrace it. He was a guy who was not invited to the combine, but they seen something in him. They like his size and skill set, and with Justin Blackmon basically gone from the team, they needed another big guy that can give Blake Bortles a chance to have a red zone target.
Yeah, at 6'4", 235, you got to give this guy a shot and see what happens. And like you said, they could use him as a tweener, too, as a hybrid between tight end and wide receiver.
A tweener.
Yeah.
Okay.
A tweener. You got a problem?
I've never heard anybody say tweener in reference to a positional player on a football field.
Well,
I have.
Now we have.
Now we have.
Now I've learned something today.
I'm a pioneer.
Tweener. He's an all-star tweener.
That is definitely not getting cut out.
Oh man, the last guy.
It shouldn't.
The last guy the Jags took was tight end Ben Koyak. He's out of Notre Dame in the 7th round, 229th overall. 6'5", 255, runs a 4'7", 640, 30-inch vertical. Only 16 bench reps out of your tight end. That's kind of pansy. He's got good size and athleticism for a pass-catching tight end. He's good up the seam, big, strong hands, catches the ball away from his body. He could play in the slot or line up at tight end. He needs to work harder to get open when plays break down, though. He doesn't gain yards after the catch. He only had one season as a starter. He's rather mechanical in his routes. He sells his routes, or gives away his routes, I should say, to defenders. And he only had 2 catches of 25 yards or more in his career, so he's not really going to be a big play guy. He's somebody who's going to come in and be a good depth guy. Almost definitely, to me, will probably never start. Good blocker, but he's not much else after that.
Well, like you said, he has trouble getting open, but he is very good at making catches in traffic. So the combination of those two turns out to be, like you said, he doesn't have many yards after the catch because he's never really that open, but he can come up with the big catch at times for you.
I mean, he'll be a solid number 2 guy. I just don't see him ever stepping in to be a Pro Bowl number 1.
Not when you got Julius Thomas.
Believe it.
Among some of the undrafted free agent rookie signings for the Jacksonville Jaguars were Syracuse defensive tackle Eric Kroom, Auburn returner Corey Grant, and then the NFL.com actually has Auburn running back Connor Hamlet listed here. And he is not from Auburn, nor is he a running back. He is from Oregon State, and he is a tight end.
Discrepancies. We can't. We don't deal with them on the spread.
No, not having it. Auburn quarterback Nick Marshall, Minnesota State. You ever hear of Minnesota State Mankato?
We
I
have
heard
now.
the Minnesota Screaming
They're
Eagles.
a tweener college.
Offensive lineman from that college, Christopher Reed. Maryland linebacker Matt Robinson. Pittsburgh linebacker Todd Thomas.
Work it, Thomas.
Kansas State quarterback Jake Waters. And then they brought in this Miami linebacker Thurston Armbrister. There's a name
thirsty.
for you right there. He's thirsting to put a hurting on fools.
He's thirsting for a keg of beer.
Bursting off someone's armsters.
But, I mean, he was a pretty good player in college. Like I said, he's a linebacker. He had 5 sacks last year.
He's thirsting to get to the quarterback.
56 tackles. In 2013 as a junior, he played in all 13 games, but he only did make 6 starts, recorded 33 tackles, 5 for a loss, 2 sacks, had a fumble recovery. He's not a guy that's going to be a beast or anything. But,
Where's he coming from?
Miami.
Miami?
Yeah, coming from a big college. This is a guy that played on the team for 3 seasons. His freshman year, he participated on the practice squad, but didn't see any action in games. He's 6'3", 241 pounds. I mean, he had his games, but he's also not a consistent player. I could see him sticking on the practice squad, and maybe in a couple years you see his name pop up on the roster.
Pushing for some playing time. Thurston. You heard it here first, folks.
Armbrister.
Let's move on to the team that I feel had the best draft, not only in this division, but maybe in all of football. And I know I'm not alone in this thought. The Houston Texans. In the first round, they got cornerback Kevin Johnson out of Wake Forest. This is a guy thought to be the best corner on a lot of mock drafts. He's 6 foot, 188 pounds, ran a 4.5 240 with a 41.5-inch vertical. He has great balance. He plays great in man coverage. He's smooth in his back pedal. He has the speed to recover when he's beaten deep. He plays stronger than his 188 pounds would suggest, and he's willing to come in and stop the run. His thin frame worried some people about durability, and I'm not really worried about that. He can be fooled by play fakes and head fakes a little bit more than you would like, and he doesn't track the ball very well when it's in the air, but this is a guy who will run with any wide receiver in the league. He's got enough physicality to stay with some of the big ones. He's got the size to jump. He's just a great cornerback, and I was really hoping he would slide to the Steelers.
It would have been nice to see any of these cornerbacks fall to the Steelers, but it didn't happen. And the Houston Texans have one of the best defenses in football, and they just keep adding to it. And like they say, defense wins championships, and that's the way the Texans are going. But in today's NFL, I think you also need a quarterback.
Yeah, they don't have one of those yet. Another defensive guy with their second-round pick, Benardrick McKinney, inside linebacker out of Mississippi State, 6'4", 246 pounds with a 4.66 40-yard dash, 16 bench reps, and a 40.5-inch vertical. This was a guy who was projected in the late first round in some mock drafts. In the first mock draft we did, I think we had him going to the Cardinals in the late first round. He has good size for the position. He can play inside or outside, good straight line speed, and he's willing to take running backs on head-to-head rather than wait for them to come to him. He plays a little high, though. He needs to get his pads lower. He's not great at coverage. He's a little stiff in the hips, and he lacks the foot quickness to stay with some receivers. His poor agility allows receivers and tight ends to separate from him in coverage and make plays, and he doesn't do well against cut blocks. Like I said, he was projected early in the first or late in the first round in some mock drafts. He quickly dropped when teams realized he couldn't cover, but he's solid against a run. He's a guy that can come in and play rotationally or maybe even start. I don't think they need a middle linebacker to start right now, but he could on some teams.
I actually believe this guy may start. And if you look, they have J.J. Watt at defensive end, left defensive end. They brought in Vince Wilfork at nose tackle. You got Cushing and McKinney on the inside linebackers. That's going to be hard to stop.
Believe it.
And if Clowney could ever do something.
Yeah, Clowney's
you
supposed
got
to be back.
Clowney
They
too,
expect
obviously.
him to be back day one.
Yeah, so this defense may be the premier defense in the NFL next season. If not next season, I mean, some of these guys are still young, maybe 2 years from now.
It's crazy. Ridiculous how good they're going to be. Well, the Texans' third-round pick, another guy who was projected in the first round, Jaleen Strong, wide receiver out of Arizona State, 6'2", 217 pounds, runs a 4.44 40-yard dash with a 42-inch vertical.
There they are.
He's got good size and uses it to shield defenders while he's making the catch. He comes back to the ball. He doesn't just wait for it to come to him. He's a guy who runs good routes, especially out of the slot. He could track the ball really well while it's in the air and run after the catch. He's a real good on bubble screens, and with poor quarterback play, those high percentage passes are a little better for the Texans to run. He's still got a raw talent, will need a little bit of coaching. He doesn't catch the ball well with his hands. He allows it to come into his body a little too much, and it's bouncing off his pads, so that's not great. And he don't have great acceleration. Coming out of the slot, you think more guys, that you would want him to be a lot quicker maybe than faster. It takes him a little bit of time to get to his top speed, so you may not see him in the slot a lot after his first year. But after getting rid of Andre Johnson, they needed a playmaker at the wide receiver position, so Strong was definitely the candidate to bring in, especially in the third round when this guy has first-round talent.
Well, why
yeah.
did he drop to the third round?
Wrist injury.
A wrist injury.
Yeah, I was still pretty surprised he dropped to the third round. But look, DeAndre Hopkins is my boy out there in Houston. They brought over Cecil Shorts to replace Andre Johnson. Now, I know Shorts isn't Andre Johnson, but really Andre Johnson isn't Andre Johnson anymore either. So,
Who is he?
you know what I'm saying. He's not the same player he used to be.
Thurston Armburston.
But with Jalen Strong in here, I mean, all they need to do is find a quarterback,
Yeah.
and you have something here. I mean, you already have Arian Foster at running back, but he's not going to last forever.
Right.
So you need to get a quarterback in here, and then you're going to have a pretty good offense with a dominant defense, and you
Quarterback?
really have a shot.
Oh, they got one.
And Ryan Mallett.
Who's that? Who's
Hoyer.
Who's B. Hoyer? Is
Brian
that,
Hoyer.
Bubby Hoyer.
Is that him?
Yeah,
Oh, they're good.
they're good.
That's all. He's serviceable.
What about Savage?
Nah, he don't.
Garbage.
He's
He's not happening for you.
Hoyer is serviceable. What are they gonna? They have to finish last to get a quarterback. That's the only way you get a quarterback nowadays is finishing last.
The
You don't
Denver
go out and
Broncos
trade for
got
Ben Roethlisberger.
Denver Broncos got a pretty decent quarterback. by
Oh,
trade.
they took a risk on an old head, dude,
Well,
and it
maybe
worked
the
out
Houston
for him.
Texans should do that.
So what old head's out there then?
Well, that's a different
They
question.
should trade for
None, there are
Carson
none.
Palmer.
Well, what's
Yeah.
gonna happen? What
Or
they'll
no,
do?
who else is old?
The
Is
New England,
Vinny? Is Testaverde still playing?
the
Testaverde.
New England Patriots will start out 4-0, and Janine Garofalo will get traded to the Houston Texans.
There you go.
Or no, they'll get Tom Brady in a blockbuster deal
Yeah,
because they've had enough of them up in New England.
Belichick would have to come with him.
I mean, these picks aren't going to do much on the offense if you don't have something
To throw to?
to throw. Yeah.
yeah,
believe it.
I
So-
agree.
Ugh.
Well, another guy they took on the offensive side of the ball, wide receiver Keith Mumphrey out of Michigan State. They took him in the 5th round, 175th overall. He's 6 foot, 215 pounds with a 4.5, 440, 32.5-inch vertical. He works hard in routes, gets open on a regular basis. He's a motivated player and a leader on the field. He's a guy who's a good run blocker. He's willing to do the dirty work. His playtime did diminish over the last 2 years. He's not a guy who's going to get great separation down the field, and he doesn't have a real good catch radius. Like some of these bigger guys, they got long arms and they can catch the ball even if it's away from him. He's not one of those guys. He's got T-Rex arms.
Yeah, but like we said, they don't have a quarterback, so the main thing they're going to be doing on offense is featuring Arian Foster, if you ask me. And Mumphrey is actually a physical receiver, and he can block pretty well. So maybe why not put him in, give yourself another blocker for the best part of your offense?
Yeah,
He
worst case
almost,
scenario.
he almost physically resembles a thicker, young Andre Johnson.
Yeah.
Look at him there. He doesn't
Yeah.
look like a wide receiver. He looks
No.
like a nose tackle.
Dude's got a beast neck. The 6th round pick for the Texans was Rashard Clyett, an outside linebacker out of South Florida. He's 6'2", 235 pounds, runs a 4.4 40 with 21 bench reps. He's a guy who's a good pass rusher. He can get around the edge. He'll be a factor on 3rd downs. He is one of the fastest linebackers in the draft. Not the fastest, but one of them. He's a little bit small for the position, though, at outside. Only 235 pounds. You want to see him put on a little bit of strength. He's not a great tackler. That never helps you at the linebacker position, and he's going to struggle against the run. So he's more of a situational guy, a rotational pass rusher on 3rd downs, maybe 3rd and longs. You don't even want him in there on 3rd and short because if he's not going to be able to stop the run, he's going to be a liability.
Yeah, I expect this guy to actually make the team, though, and he's a guy that can run someone down at least, you know what I
Right.
mean? So, yeah, you're right. He's probably going to be just contributing maybe on 3rd downs, but I think he's a pretty decent player to have, especially when you have all these dominant players on the defensive side.
I hate even saying that people contribute on special teams nowadays because punts are the only real special teams play. I mean, the kickoffs all go into the end zone now, so you don't even blame.
On sides.
Yeah. Another 6th round pick, Christian Covington, defensive tackle. He was 216th overall out of Rice. He's 6'2", 289 pounds with a 4.89 40, 24 bench reps. He's a guy who gets out of his stance pretty quick, keeps his pads low. He has good power and uses his arm extension to keep the offensive lineman far away. He gets good push up the middle, but he needs to work on his footwork. He gets knocked to the ground a little too easily for a guy his size, and he doesn't really have any pass rush moves at all. This is a guy who basically holds his ground and doesn't let the offense push him back, but he's not getting a whole lot of push up the middle unless it's just through strength.
Yeah, he missed a lot of last season with a knee injury, so we'll have to see how he returns from that. And making the jump to the NFL, it can't be a good thing for you either.
Yeah, this guy's got practice squad written all over him. 7th round pick for the Texans was Kenny Hillard, a running back out of LSU. Good size at 6 foot, 226 pounds, with a 4.68 40, 16 bench reps, and 29-inch vertical. His play speed looks a lot better on tape than his 40-yard time would insinuate. He's a back who can catch the ball out of the backfield, and he sets his blocks up well. He doesn't hesitate. He gets to the line of scrimmage quickly and gets through the hole, but he doesn't have a lot of creativity if the hole isn't there. He's not a guy who has enough speed to get to the outside. He's not going to burst through the outside and make a lot of freak moves and get downfield. He's not going to make you miss in space. He's easily tackled for a running back with his size. And he's not a good pass blocker. So all those things are big liabilities for a guy, especially with a team with a terrible quarterback. You don't want him just getting mauled. This is a guy who'll compete for a roster spot, but like I said, he lacks the top-end speed and power for a back his size. We keep saying everybody's going to make the practice squad. Not everybody does. This guy might not even make the team. For a 7th-round pick, he's somebody you just kind of take a reach on and hope.
Well, he was a teammate of Alfred Blue, who the Houston Texans recently drafted. What was it? Last year, I believe it was. And they both play for LSU. They used a running back by committee there with these two and other players. But Alfred Blue was the better running back, so I wouldn't expect him to overtake him at any point.
Correct. And it's tough. The NFL is running back by committee, so I can say that this guy's not going to make it. If he looks good enough to carry the ball 5 times to 8 times a game, I mean, that's what some teams are looking for out of their second or third back. So he may be able to do it. He may be able to get a little bit of carries. I'm obviously not playing in the league.
Some of the undrafted rookie signings for the Houston Texans: Nebraska offensive lineman Jake Cotton, Michigan State safety Curtis Drummond, Alabama offensive tackle Brandon Ivory, Texas State punter Will Johnson, Appalachian State offensive tackle Kendall Lamb, Bowie State end Corey Lee, Toledo center Greg Manx. I can't even say that well. Central Florida tight end Mike McFarland, Ohio defensive lineman Cam McLeod.
McLovin?
Maybe. Arizona defensive tackle Dan Pettinato. Henderson State. Where the hell is Henderson State? Quarterback Kevin Rogers.
Can't be D1.
Maybe he's Aaron Rodgers'
It's
brother.
not D1.
No, it's not D2 either, I'm guessing.
Maybe he's that guy that looks like Aaron Rodgers from the State Farm commercial.
The English guy. I think
Yeah.
that dude's British. Marshall defensive end James Rouse. Auburn guard Chad Slade. Ole Miss defensive end Carlos Thompson. Norfolk State outside linebacker Lyndon Trail. We actually seen that name come up a couple times, Lyndon Trail. I think the Steelers were actually looking in on that guy.
Yeah.
Oregon linebacker Tony Washington Jr. And then this Troy receiver Chandler Worthy. Now, in college for Troy, he didn't do much in the passing game. But he was their kick returner too, and he put up some good, pretty decent stats. In 12 games last season for him, he had 27 kick returns for 704 yards. That's a 26.1 average, and he scored 2 touchdowns. So this guy might be able to find his way into a couple games. Stick around on the practice squad. Maybe you find your way on the roster if he works well in the return game for him.
Yeah, it's not like they have a extremely deep wide receiver core down there in Houston. They got Hopkins and Jaylene Strong.
Yeah, and I don't think Jaylene Strong's going to be a kick returner.
No.
Hopkins isn't a kick returner. No. And Cecil Shorts isn't going to be kick returning. And Alfred Blue isn't a kick returner. You got to find someone to put in that position.
Well, let's move on to the last team for the AFC South. They had the 2nd pick in the draft, the Tennessee Titans. They took quarterback Marcus Mariota out of Oregon. Mariota's got good size, 6'4", 222 pounds, ran a 4.5 240 with a 36-inch vertical. He's got real good straight line speed for a quarterback. He can make plays outside the pocket. Anybody who watched Oregon plays knows that. He throws well on the move with a quick release. He's a guy that leads by example. He's very humble, and the scouts say he's extremely coachable. One of the biggest knocks on him, though, was he didn't run a pro-style offense, and people were afraid that he can't do it in the NFL. He didn't have a great big route tree to throw to. It was more of a one-read-and-go offense. So if his first guy wasn't open, he might go to his second option, but then it was pretty much just run. He does need to work on his ball security a little bit. He fumbled a little bit more than what NFL teams want to see, but he's not going to be running the ball as much as he did in college.
You know how to fix that?
Stay in the pocket.
Deflate the balls.
There you go. And put some stickum on it. And then do steroids.
But really, yeah, you brought in Marcus Mariota, and you need a quarterback. That's something. If you need a quarterback, you need a quarterback. But they really don't have much around him. Kendall Wright's an okay receiver. They brought over Harry Douglas from Atlanta. He showed some decent games here and there, but I don't think he's a guy that should be starting every game.
They got Bishop Sankey.
Yeah, Bishop Sankey is your running back. I mean, you really got to start putting some weapons around this guy.
Well, they did do that with their second pick. 40th overall, Dorial Green-Beckham, wide receiver out of Missouri. Great size at 6'5", 237. A 4.49 40 out of somebody that big. 13 bench reps, 33.5-inch verticals, a little depressing. He had great size and speed combos, smooth strides, gets to his top speed quickly. Real good catch radius, obviously at 6'5". This guy's got long arms and strong hands. He's somebody who can make the tough catches. He comes back for the ball to catch it underneath. You don't see that easy in a lot of big guys. It's usually the littler guys with the good speed who can run the defenders off, like at the start of the snap, and then come back because you have to respect their deep speed. When you have to do that for a guy who's 6'5", 237, if he can catch the ball, he's going to stiff arm you in the face. You're going to the ground, and he's off to the races.
Yeah, this is exactly what Tennessee needed to do. Bring this guy in. I think this guy fell too far in this draft. I know he had some character issues or whatever, but this guy is a beast. And he reminds me sort of Randy Moss. Not that he's going to be Randy Moss, but just everything surrounding him and how big he is.
Well, he was suspended twice and arrested twice and then kicked off the team, so that's a lot like Moss.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, didn't Randy Moss go to Florida State and murder someone or something?
Hell no.
I don't think he murdered anybody,
he was at
but
Florida State.
he ended up at Marshall because he got
in
kicked
trouble
out.
for some kind of murder or something. I don't think he was actually the one that murdered him, but he was involved in this something that happened with a murder. And then he went to Marshall.
And then he dominated the NFL and fake mooned everybody, and now people hate him.
Yeah, everybody passed on him just like
I don't hate him.
Dorial
I love
Green
him.
Beckham. Yeah,
Yeah.
me
Randy
too.
Moss was the truth.
Green Beckham's the next one, but the only problem is you got Mariota, and yeah, you brought him in, you had to get the quarterback, but I think Mariota is more of a Colin Kaepernick type quarterback.
Yeah, but Beckham's good at moving around and making catches kind of on the fly. He's not a great route runner, so they're both going to be able to improv together. I bet you this first year they have a big year. Whether they're going to be a great combo down the line, it's the teams don't have any film on them type thing. And these two guys might be able to have a big year for rookie combo.
Yeah, see, this year I think Mariota could have a good year, but down the line I think Mariota, just like Colin Kaepernick, they're just
I agree.
not that great
I agree.
in the end.
Easy. You watch more college than any of us. Is it Mariota or Winston?
Well, it's a good question. I'm going to go with neither.
You don't think either one are going to make it long term?
No.
We'll see. I think Winston has the best short-term potential just because of his size. The next guy, Jeremiah Putassi, the offensive guard out of Utah. He was taken in the third round. He's 6'5", 335 pounds, runs a 5'3", 240, 26 bench reps. He cut the amount of hits and sacks allowed by more than half from 2013 to 2014. He's a guy who stays square in his pass protection, and he has good footwork for a big guy. He doesn't have great flexibility. It robs him a little bit of his power at point of attack. He needs to sustain and finish his blocks a little better in the run game, and he needs to get better punch coming off the ball. He allows the defensive guy to kind of take over right off the bat.
Well, the Tennessee Titans, they brought in the quarterback, they put the receiver around him, and they brought in someone to protect him. So, I mean, you did the right thing through the first 3 rounds, knowing that you were taking a quarterback first overall. And I bet you this Jeremiah gets a bunch of Putassi.
He definitely plays better in pass protection than the run game, so it was a good idea to take him with Mariota back there. You want to keep that number 1 pick standing upright. Maybe he can go out and get some Putassi with him. The 4th round pick for the Titans was Angelo Blackson, defensive tackle out of Auburn. He's 6'4", 318 pounds, runs a 5'0", 240 with 20 bench reps. He's got good strength at the point of attack. He's a guy who can handle double teams and stays in his lane. He's a good tackler who drives through the ball carrier instead of letting them come to him. He doesn't explode off the snap into the offensive lineman. He leans a little bit with his head and doesn't get enough punch with his arms, and he gets his pads too high sometimes. That allows the offensive lineman to get underneath of him and knock him off balance. If he can work on those things, he definitely has the size to contribute on an NFL defense.
Yeah, this is a guy that actually has experience eating up two blockers. So if he can do that in the NFL, he's going to be a very good player.
Another guy, 4th round pick, Jalston Fowler. He's a fullback out of Alabama. He's 5'11", 254 pounds. That's beast. 4'8", 340, 23 bench reps. Real good size for his position. Used to play running back, so he knows a lot about running lanes and how to play the position. He's a guy who can handle ISO blocks and take on linebackers with regularity. He catches the ball well for a fullback, and he's a good short yardage runner. He doesn't sustain his blocks well. He's good at the point of attack, but he doesn't hold them. He's still learning the position. Like I said, he moved from running back to fullback. And some scouts may be afraid he's not aggressive enough for that position. For fullback, you really just got to want to murder people out on the field.
Yeah, like you were saying, this is a guy that can play fullback, and they actually believe he can play a little bit of running back for you as well. Look, they don't have great running backs there, so maybe he can get a couple of carries a game. He works okay out of the passing game as well. He can do a little bit of everything for you. Easy. He's a tweener.
That's it.
Tween
he's tween starting at running back or being the running back's chauffeur.
The question is, can he play running back and then block for himself while he's running easy?
The question is he going to be able to run?
He's the best healthy Fowler in this draft.
Believe that.
Yes, that's a good call.
Well, he's hoping he can block for the next guy they took, David Cobb, the running back out of Minnesota. He was a 5th round pick, 138th overall. He's 5'11", 229 pounds, disappointing 4'8", 140, 17 bench reps, 38.5-inch vertical. Good power runner, runs with a good low center of gravity. Quick feet for a big guy who can make one or two defenders miss. He's no Barry Sanders. He does run through a lot of arm tackles. He gained 54% of his yards after contact dash from 2013 to 2014. More than half the yards this guy gets are after somebody gets an arm on him. So that's really good from somebody who's a power back. He uses that strong leg drive to get those tough yards and those short yardage at the goal line. Some of the weaknesses he has, though, he's really just a straight line runner. He's not going to make a lot of moves. It's more that kind of turn the shoulder, first guy misses, and then he gets there. He doesn't have a lot of speed. He's not going to bounce it to the outside. He's not going to get 60-yard breakout run. And he fumbled in 4 of 6 games at one point in 2014. So he needs to work on his hands, and he really can't block at all.
Well, I think that can work in an offense when you're running a running back by committee. He doesn't need to do everything. If he's just a powerful running back, that's okay. And Ken Wisenhunt loves those power running backs too.
I like this guy, especially as a 5th round pick. You could teach a guy to hold on to the ball. You could teach a guy to protect the quarterback. You can't teach a big man good footwork. Any fan of a team who's had a power runner, a Jim Brown, an Eric Dickerson, Jerome Bettis, you got to have that good footwork. And 54% of his yards coming after contact. He's a dude who's just going to lower his head and go through people. I love that style of running.
Yeah, Bishop Sankey doesn't do that.
Yeah, Bishop Sankey doesn't do squat. The 6th round pick for the Tennessee Titans, Deontrez Mount, outside linebacker out of Louisville. He's 6'5", 243 pounds. He ran a 4'6", 240 with 28 bench reps. He's a guy with good strength, good technique at the point of attack. He can disengage from the offensive lineman and make the tackle. Good awareness on the field. In college, he played outside linebacker, inside linebacker, defensive end, and defensive tackle. He's not a good enough pass rusher to play outside linebacker in the NFL, and he can't drop into coverage. So he's more of a maybe 3-4 Sam outside linebacker, the guy who kind of just hangs out to stop the run. Not anybody who's going to cover Rob Gronkowski or a Jimmy Graham or even a Heath Miller. He's strong but not fast.
Wait a minute. If you can't cover Heath Miller, then you're the worst.
Heath Miller had 700 yards last year or something, or 500 and something yards last year.
Yeah, but he's the slowest white person I've ever seen.
He's got speed. Another 6th-round pick for the Titans was Andy Galik, center out of Boston College. He's 6'2", 306 pounds, runs a 5.5 40 with 29 bench reps. He's strong enough to hold his own at the point of attack. He uses his entire body when blocking, not just his arms. Plays with a nasty demeanor that the coaches love out of a center. He uses his feet well in both run and pass protection. He does need to keep his pads a little lower coming out of the snap. Quicker players can slip through his blocks pretty easily. He's not a great athlete. He's not going to pull to lead block. And he looks very confused when blocking in space. So when this guy gets to the second level, it's like easy in a library, man. He doesn't know what to do.
Look for the bathroom.
Listen, Galik, he does have some starter qualities, and he's a guy that the Titans think that they can turn into a starter. On the offensive line, you can make some of these guys in the later rounds, but he's never going to be a great player in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be a starter, but he can contribute in a couple of years. You put him on the practice squad, hope nobody jacks him from you during that time.
Yeah. The last pick for the Titans was Trey McBride, wide receiver out of William & Mary. They took him in the 7th round, 245th overall. Not great size at 6 foot 210, but not terrible. 4'4", 140, that's good. 16 bench reps, 38-inch vertical. He uses his size to dominate opponents in the air, so he's real good at going up for the ball. He makes some of the highlight reel catches, those great catches you see. He has a great catch radius. He makes tough catches in little space, but he drops catches that hit him right in the hands. He's said to have elite speed, but it doesn't really show up on the field. When you watch the tape, you don't see him get a lot of separation on vertical routes or after the catch. He's not a great route runner, and scouts are really, really concerned about his inability to get separation. Just because you're a good track star doesn't make you a good NFL player.
Yeah, but they do say this guy may actually have the best hands in the draft.
I don't know. What is he using those hands for? To grope women and get domestic violence charges?
Groping William and Mary. The Tennessee Titans didn't bring in too many undrafted rookie free agents this year. Maryland wide receiver Dion Long, I was looking up his stats here a little bit. He had 51 catches for Maryland last season, 575 yards, only 2 touchdowns. He's played for him for 3 years. He missed the 2012 season, played in 2011, 13, and 14. Only had 7 touchdowns in that span, but did have 130 catches for 1,873 yards. That's a 14.4 average. He was a kick returner for him early in his career, had 18 kick returns for 425 yards and scored a TD in 2011. But after he missed the 2012 season, they did not put him back at the kick return spot. So I don't know. I mean, Tennessee, they could bring in some extra receivers, but I don't know if this guy is going to be the answer for him. Maybe as a kick returner, we'll have to see. But then they brought in Andrew Terzilli from Rutgers, too. This guy, he didn't do much in the receiving game in college either. Just 37 receptions over 4 years. He did play his first 3 seasons with Kansas and then transferred to Rutgers in 2014. But he really never did anything. The most receptions he had was 17 in a season. He did score 4 touchdowns last year, but he isn't a guy that is used in the return game either. So I don't think any of these guys are going to do anything with the Titans. And then they brought in a guy from Tennessee Chattanooga, defensive tackle Derek Lott, Florida State offensive guard Josu Matthias, whoever that guy is, LSU fullback Connor Neighbors, Ole Miss safety Cody Pruitt, and that's it. They didn't bring in too many players, and these 2 receivers they brought in, I really don't think they are going to make an impact with this team.
Well, they have Kendall Wright, Dorial Green-Beckham. They signed Akeem Nicks. They have Harry Douglas and Justin Hunter. None of those guys are great wide receivers, if you ask me. And I'm not saying they're bad, but none of them are like great guys. But they're good. You know what I mean? They're a solid core. So these undrafted guys are going to have a hard time making the team.
Yeah, Kendall Wright's a guy, I mean, he was a good player for him. He's not very consistent, but he can come up with the big play. Dorial Green-Beckham, we'll have to see. Akeem Nicks, he's had his seasons with the Giants, but I'm not really high on him. I think he's more or less a flop right now. But
hey, if
Harry
he's
Douglas,
your number 4, man, that's not too bad.
Actually, it might be number 5. They have Justin Hunter, too. That
Right.
guy's a pretty good wide receiver. And Harry Douglas, I mean,
He showed potential.
he did. The problem was he had 2 excellent wide receivers in front of him, but one of those guys were hurt all season last year, and he came up pretty big in a few games, although Atlanta wasn't very good last season.
Yeah, the jury's still out on him for long term, but I think he's got a lot of potential. But that wraps it up. That's all of our AFC South drafted players. Thank you, fans, for hanging in there.
And
Thank
undrafted.
And undrafted. Thank you, Dash, for coming in and reading those undrafted guys for us.
Give me some
Easy.
goddamn credit.
I'm thirsting
You guys can follow us on Twitter at bet_the_spread. You
for
can
some poo nasty or whatever.
You can follow me on Twitter at
Passy.
BetJimTheWin. You can check out our website at thespreadnews.simplesite.com. I post all these articles on there for a little more in-depth info on these players. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to that YouTube channel. We got to get going because I'm thirsting for Putassi.